Yeah, really got a great opportunity to be home. We've been on the road quite a bit recently. I feel like our team's definitely improved in a lot of areas and had some growth. We've got to get better in some areas, but it'll be great to be back in the USA. A lot of respect for Omaha. Coach Crutchfield has them super aggressive. They get to the free throw line. Um, they do a good job of taking care of the basketball. They don't give up many threes. It's a good team, and they've been playing better, and you can tell they've had good growth. So excited about the opportunity.
You learn anything new about your team over the last 4 games?
Definitely. I think anytime you play that level of talent and you've got to do it in that short amount of time, really, you get to see your growth, but you also get to see like what's the compounding effect of the effort that it takes, and then how do you get better. So to me, it looked like we got so much better in the Michigan game, and then took a huge step back defensively in the Butler game. And really, the atmosphere had a lot to do with our early jitters. We took ourselves out of plays and gambled a lot, and we hadn't been doing that, and we'd been really solid defensively in the Michigan game. I felt like we had a real tight, and then all of a sudden, we did some uncharacteristic things that I think the atmosphere contributed to, and it felt like guys were trying to do a lot. And that's the balance of understanding, like, the way the games are played and how some teams you can't give advantages to, and Butler was one of those teams.
And while the defense kind of took a step back, the offense has kind of been clicking a lot more. How do you find that balance of keeping that offense but honing in on the defense again?
Yeah, I think one part of that is how do we get a little more depth to our rotation. I think that'll help us defensively. Like when you get some continuity on offense, then you can understand where people are going to be, and you see our confidence grow on that end. But I think because we played less guys and we got more confidence offensively, we lost an edge defensively and rebounding wise, and maybe those opportunities that we were going every time defensively, offensively rebounding, or defensively we're showing physicality. We had some stretches where we weren't playing with as much energy as we had been. And it's probably a residual effect of being on the road in the Bahamas and then going on the road, and then in addition to that, playing less guys. So got to find a few more guys that can contribute in real ways, and just keep finding the energy that it takes to do those things that are important every possession.
How does this Omaha team stack up with you, and how does this prepare you for the future?
Yeah, I've watched them play TCU. I mean, they shot more free throws than TCU did, and that's on the road. That says a lot about the way they attack the basket. And then obviously having a common opponent, they played UNT, and we played them last year when we were there. And talking to that staff, felt like they were significantly better, just more physical, and played the game with more of an edge, and that's what you look for. And they've obviously played some non-Division ones here in a row, so I'm sure they're going to come in here with a lot of confidence. They went to Air Force, and I thought played a great game, put themselves in position. So one thing about them is they get to the free throw line, and as our team, we got to do a great job guarding the ball. And then they take away threes. I mean, they give up, just about 30% three-point defensive percentage. So for us, that means we're going to have to do a better job, maybe not settling for threes and getting to the free throw line and taking advantage of baskets around the rim.
Good. You've talked a lot about wanting to extend this rotation. I think you only played 6 guys significantly against Butler, and you spoke about after the game where you thought you kind of died at the end of the game. I guess, how do you expand that rotation? Is it just guys stepping up?
It's practice. I mean, that's how you get better. I mean, you just prove yourself in practice and learn to minimize the mistakes that you made in practice, and instead of testing yourself out in games, like find a way to get that right. And I think it's moved us in the right direction. We've had good practices since we've been back, and we've made some improvements.
When Warren Washington's on the floor, it's a different team when you go small. What has he been adding, and how has this, it's two faces of the same team?
Yeah, well, I think that's where just more time together and more time to practice gives us an opportunity to improve in the areas when Warren's in there and he needs to get better. I mean, really, his length is a problem, but the motor and the physicality that's required to do that while he's out there the whole time, because sometimes that'll drop quickly. And then with Dev, you don't have that problem. It feels like the energy is where it needs to be the whole time. Then it's about execution. And when you watched the Butler game, we had a few really significant communication mistakes at the end where we tried to switch and got lost, and those are where you have to get better with Dev. So I think it's trying to get Warren to a place where he can really bring the energy he needs the entire time he's on the court.
Still early on in the season, but even just talking to Chance just now, it seems like the relationships on and off of the court are really starting to bud now. I guess, what do you have you seen with those guys really coming together? Then obviously you see the success of it on the opposite side of things. You have 5 guys in double figures.
No, these guys love being around each other. That to me means a lot. And when you care about your teammates, then I think the growth happens rapidly, and that it can speed it up. And these dudes, they want to come out here and play well, and how we match that where we bring an edge to practice every day. Because sometimes you like people, you go through practices, and there needs to be a competitive component to practice where you're trying to beat your friends every day. And if you can do that, then I think you can elevate the growth of your team quicker. So, I mean, I appreciate these guys. We just said it before we left over here. I think our staff and our team, like, we do enjoy being around each other. It's a great group of guys. And then because of that, I think it's our advantage if we'll continue to practice hard and get better, challenge each other every day.
And the bumps and bruises of playing so many games just a short amount of time, especially on the road, finally being able to get back to Lubbock and play. What you kind of learn from your team, being able to having to go on the road and battle all that adversity and be able to take that here back home?
One thing I love about this team is there's a tremendous amount of fight when we get down. I mean, we've been down in a couple games by double figures, and this group's found a way to competitively get themselves back into the game. And it hadn't just always been making shots. It's been with getting stops, and it's been different guys stepping up. And that's what I think this team will learn to grow, to appreciate that no one needs to try to do it on their own. Like, how do you utilize each other's strengths to continue to play the game in a more efficient way? And this team's learning that. A lot of it has to do with the tough road games and neutral games that we've already played.
Those Joe and Chance, a couple of the other things where it seemed like they carried a lot of the weight on offense for you last week. Being that it's their first year here, what's impressed you most with those two?
Yeah, well, every time that we try to help them get better, they're responsive and they want to hear it. They accept the coach, and they're really learning. And every time, and like, I've got a lot of energy sometimes, so I have a tendency to go to them with some force, and I think they're just really wanting to learn to be great. That's exciting to me, and that's what I think's allowed their growth to happen quickly, especially Joe. I mean, Joe's embraced the role of being a leader and embraced the role of, hey, coach needs us to do this. So he's rallying his teammates, not just accepting the coaching himself, but rallying people around him. It says a lot about both those guys, that they're really accepting coaching, and it's proven in their growth and efficiency in playing the game.
You talked about Butler's ability to get to the free throw line. Part of that, they have a lot of different guys that can put the ball on the floor and attack closeouts. How does that change what you do defensively, if at all?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, it doesn't necessarily change what we do defensively, but Omaha's ability to attack, I think you got to play the game without fouling. And how well do you move your feet, and how physical can you be without using your hands, really is kind of the key to it. And then don't give up ground. Like, that's kind of been a tendency for us. Like, maybe on penetration, our physicality's giving up ground on drives, or when the ball gets closer to the paint. You see when we lack success, the depth of their penetration causes us problems. So being physical but doing it without fouling and using your hands has really been a key emphasis playing this one.
Coach, you talked about Joe. I brought him here. The big thing about him was his defense, especially at the point of attack. He even called himself the head of the defense earlier in the offseason, but he's the only player for y'all to score double digits every game. Is that kind of like an added bonus, or how do y'all view his scoring?
Yeah, I think Joe's learning. When he first started, it was like, hey, how do I assert myself to score, and not necessarily what does the team need on an offensive possession. Now he's trying to find that balance. And to be honest, early we missed a bunch of threes, and I think he would have averaged over 8 assists through those first few games, but we missed quite a few open looks. So to his credit, he stayed the course, but I think what he's learned to do is utilize those forwards in a playmaking role, and that's what I loved about the last game. 2 possessions. One, he actually cut early and opened up a gap instead of going and trying to hunt the ball, which opened up an opportunity for somebody else. So that shows me he's starting to see how it all fits together. And then another one was, he had 12 assists, but he kept making the right play, and then he was stopping in those scoring areas and looking off maybe option one, not seeing option two, and going to option three, which to me really shows that he's starting to see all of it and how all these guys' strengths fit, and give him a lot of credit. He's really wanting to learn, and his facilitating hadn't just been about him scoring first. It's been I need to attack to see what the best option is. He's learning those options quickly.
Coach, before Butler, you said that you felt pretty strongly about how you could rebound the ball against them, and obviously kind of flipped on y'all. After looking at it, I guess, what was the diagnosis there and why it flipped?
Yeah, I think from the beginning, they didn't miss very many shots, and we didn't miss very many shots there for a stretch. And when we did, I think we took for granted both ends and really took a passive approach. And when the game gets played like that, you have to be disciplined to do it every time. And it showed that we lacked that discipline to do it every time. The guys that are supposed to do it, you got to do it every time. And I love our guys showing confidence in the team, thinking they're going to make, but that's not how you win. So really, it was just the physicality and being disciplined to do it, even when you think your teammate's going to make it. And plan on it being a miss and be disciplined to do it every time. We didn't do that.
How close are you to where this team is where you want it to be?
I'm thrilled about the improvements we continue to make in different areas, but we're not near where we need to be. I mean, I wouldn't say we're even close. I'd say, we're not even halfway where we need to be, especially with our league, knowing what we're up against. We've got to make quicker strides where we don't have that big of a defensive, we don't lay that big of an egg. You can't do that. That's unacceptable.
Is the shot just distribution in terms of twos versus threes? Is that where you want it? Would you like to see it change a little bit?
Honestly, I think it's about what the defense is, honestly, and you got to find ways to leverage the defense. I'll tell you this, with this group, the push and transition has to be consistent for us because we need to create those opportunities. And I think where we find our biggest strength is when we're able to create leverage on the rim before we shoot threes. So really, it's just continuing to grow in that area where there's an efficiency in our head, like this isn't going to be the best shot, so how do we try to create a better one? And really, I don't know if it's about twos or threes, because sometimes I think we need to shoot more threes in games as long as it gets inside first, and instead of throwing up bad twos. That was the balance the other day. I mean, we finally got into the paint, did have some good looks, but we were going away from the rim on a few of them. It's like, hey, that's not even the right one, It's like, let's put all of it together. And so I think it's just about taking what the defense gives and not settling for early threes.